Okay, hello, my name is Emma, and today I'll be presenting our research on co-optimizing robot morphology and controller in a simulated open-ended environment. We optimize both the controller and the morphology of a bipedal walker and explore how changing environments affect the search for the morphology and the controller. When the morphology and controller is co-optimized, the morphology has a tendency to converge prematurely. This is believed to be because the controller specializes to the morphologies it is controlling, and whenever the morphology changes, it is as if the interface between the morphology and the controller no longer works for the new morphology. In 2019, Juan et al. Presented POET, the Paired Open-Ended Trailblazer. They found that this algorithm could increase exploration of controllers, and we want to see if this effect that Wang et al. Observed also works for exploration of morphologies. The POET algorithm keeps a population of pairs. Each pair contains an agent and an environment. The agent is optimized within its paired environment. The POET algorithm has three main steps: creating new environments, optimizing agents within their paired environments, and transferring agents between environments based on their performance. We evolve a population of individuals using an evolutionary algorithm and compare three methods for changing the environments that the individuals are being evaluated in. The three methods are POET, which you already discussed, RRI, which is a handcrafted curriculum of environments, and static, which is our baseline. First, we look at POET, which you already mentioned earlier. In POET, environments are evolving open-endedly along with populations of individuals. The environments for POET are chosen based on how difficult they are for the individuals to solve, and also on the novelty of the environment. In blue here, you see the main flow of our evolutionary algorithm. First, individuals are evaluated in their environments. Next, parents are selected through a tournament. After that, the parents are recombined with uniform crossover and mutated to create children. The children are then introduced back into the population using crowding. In orange here, you can see the functionality of POET when combined with our evolutionary algorithm. The evolutionary algorithm functions as the optimization step of POET, where agents are optimized within their environments. After the optimization step is the transfer step. The transfer step happens every 5 generations. There is also the step where new environments are created, which happens every 40 generations. Next is round-robin incremental, RRI. RRI switches between 5 different environments. The environments are a flat environment and 4 environments containing the features pits, rough terrain, stumps, and stairs. The environments gradually increase in difficulty as the individuals get better at solving them. In blue here, we can see our evolutionary algorithm as before. However, now the POET part, with transfer and creating new environments, has been removed. For the curriculum, we instead check the curriculum to decide the next environment that individuals should be evaluated in. Last is static, our baseline. Our baseline has no environmental change. It only has one flat environment that never changes. Here we see our evolutionary algorithm in blue again. For static, there is only one flat environment, so there is no need to change the environment that the individuals are evaluated in. Here you can see the structure of our individuals. The individuals consist of a pair of one neural network and one morphology. The neural network has two hidden layers with 40 nodes each. The input layer has 24 nodes, and the output layer has 4 nodes. The morphology of the individuals is a vector containing 8 values. The values describe the length and the width of each of the 4 leg segments of the bipedal walker. On the bottom here, you can see an example of a bipedal walker environment. Here you can see all the 4 different features that can appear in an environment: the stumps, the pits, the steers, and the rough terrain. We compare our 3 methods for changing environments using 3 methods. First is diversity. The diversity is how different each individual in the population is from the other individuals in that population. Next is fitness, which is how well the individual performs in its environment. Next is robustness, which is how well the individuals perform when they encounter new environments that they have never seen before. Now, let's move on to the results. First, we'll look at the diversity of the evolved individuals. The diversity for one individual is measured as the average distance from that individual to all the other individuals in the population. The diversity for a population as a whole is measured as the average diversity of all its individuals. Here is a graph showing the morphological diversity over time during the runs for all 3 methods for changing the environments. As you can see in green here is poet. Poet had the highest morphological diversity in its populations. Next is static in blue, which is our baseline, and RRI in orange, which had the lowest morphological diversity in the population. Here we also look at the diversity of the evolved populations, but now we plot it in a feature map. In this graph, each row represents 1 run of the algorithms. So all of these 4 are 1 run each of poet, all of these 4, 1 run each of RRI, and so on for static. The dimensions in the map are the width and the length of the legs of the bipedal walker. So dimensions are features of the morphologies. Each circle in the graph represents 1 morphology that was explored during the run. The color represents when in the run the morphologies were explored. So purple circles represents morphologies that were explored early on in the run, while yellow circles represents morphologies that were explored late in the run. In these maps, we can see that poet has large yellow areas. We can almost see no purple circles, while for RRI and static, we can see a lot of purple circles. The reason you cannot see a lot of purple circles for poet is because they are covered by the yellow circles. This means that poet explores the same areas of the search space, both in the beginning and the end of the search, while static and RRI start out in a large area and then converge to a smaller area, typically in the bottom right of the search space. This indicates to us that poet may be exploring a larger diversity of morphologies for a longer period of time, and that the convergence of morphologies in poet is perhaps a bit slower than the convergence of the morphologies for RRI and static. Now, let's look at the fitness of the evolved individuals. This map is quite similar to the previous map. However, instead of showing when in the search a morphology appeared, it shows the highest fitness found for a certain combination of width and length of the legs. In all of these maps, the fitness is measured in the flat environment, as this is the only environment that is shared between all 3 methods for choosing environments. We can see that both static and poet has found quite high fitness in the flat environment, indicated by the yellow color in the graph. However, poet seems to have found a slightly larger area with yellow color compared to static. This means that poet has found high fitness for a larger variety of morphologies, or a larger variety of combinations of width and length of the legs. RRI did not find as high fitness in flat environment as static and poet. We believe that this may be because RRI experiences very quick change in the environment. This can make the search quite difficult for RRI, as the environment it is evolving in is quite challenging. And it may force RRI to quickly optimize to the solutions that work fairly well in all 5 of its environments. Next, let's look at the robustness of the evolved individuals. That is, the fitness of the individuals in environments that they did not encounter during training. This graph shows the fitness of the evolved individuals measured in various environments. On the left, we have the fitness in the flat environment for comparison. Next, we tested the 3 methods in environments that they had not seen before. First in relatively simple environments, and to the right progressively more difficult environments. In the flat environment, static and poet had highest fitness. However, already in the simple unseen environments, RRI is on par with static and poet. To the right, as the environments grow more difficulty, there seems to be a tendency where RRI loses fitness less compared to poet and static. This may indicate that RRI has evolved in individuals that are slightly more general and can generalize a bit better to difficult and unseen environments compared to the other 2 methods. Last, we looked at how the individuals performed when they were encountered environments that were slightly different, but still also a bit similar to those they encountered during training. To achieve this, we took a collection of all the environments that were encountered during training for RRI and poet and mutated them to create new environments that were slightly different, but still quite similar to the original environments that poet and the RRI methods faced. Again, we see the fitness of the evolved individuals. Poet is in orange and RRI in blue. We also looked at how poet and RRI performed in each other's environments. If we look at the original environments that the individuals encountered during training to the left here, we can see that RRI performed slightly better in poet's environments than in its own environments. And poet performed slightly better in its own environments than RRI's environments. This may indicate that poet's environments were a bit less difficult compared to RRI's environments. To create the environments that were slightly different, we mutated them respectively once, twice, 4, or 8 times. And if we look at the first 2 here, the categories where the environments are still quite similar to the original environments, poet performs quite well in its own environments, and the same goes for RRI. As the environments become increasingly more difficult, however, poet decreases a bit faster in fitness compared to RRI, just like we saw on the previous graph. We think that the result in this graph may indicate that poet specializes to a niche of environments similar to those seen during training, while RRI generalizes to a wider array of environments. To summarize, we conclude the individuals evolved with poet maintained larger population diversity than the other 2 methods for changing environments. The individuals evolved in poet also managed to find high fitness in the flat environment, equally high fitness as a static method. Poet also found high fitness in the flat environment for a larger variety of morphologies. We also conclude that the difficult curriculum of rapidly changing environments in RRI seems to make the individuals more robust to environmental change. In future work, we would like to evolve individuals for longer to see how the diversity, fitness, and robustness develop over many more generations. The environments found by both RRI and poet were not extremely difficult. And we would like to see how the methods perform when they reach the most difficult environments possible within the bipedal walker environment. We would also like to see whether diversity increase in POET has any beneficial effects on the search. We did not directly see in these experiments how the diversity affected the quality of the evolved individuals. This would be interesting to explore in the future. We would also like to test our methods on more complex morphologies. In the bipedal walker environment, it is only the length and width of the legs that is changing in the morphology. It would be interesting to test our methods on something such as modular robots, and the morphologies can evolve more freely. That was everything. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Emma. It was a very interesting talk. And we have quite a lot of time for questions because we have something like 9 minutes. Is there any question? There is a question. Emma, can you see it? From Emma.
Yes, so the question is, were the RRI environments hand designed? So yes, the curriculum of environments in RRI were hand designed. So there were 5 initial environments that we designed by hand. And whenever the individuals reached a certain fitness, an offset was added to the environment to make it slightly more difficult.
Great. I also, but first, I'd like to congratulate you because you have also made your code available in GitHub, and that's simply amazing. I have a couple of questions looking at the paper itself. It looks as if the morphologies that are evolved with using POET are very different from the others, but it looks like the legs are thicker or something like that. Is that something that is reached only by exploring parts of the space that are not available to the other methods? And that's the first question. And the second one is, what kind of conclusions have you drawn from seeing the different morphologies evolve? Do you see that there is some specific changes or some specific features that are adapted to some specific landscapes or something like that?
So the different morphologies that were evolved by POET, we believe, is because the diversity of morphologies evolved by POET were larger. However, did not have time to analyze whether these morphologies were actually better for the environment and which features were evolved for which types of environments. Although this would definitely be very interesting to explore in the future.
Thank you very much. I think that Gusti Eivind has a question. Please go ahead, Gus.
So can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Congratulations. I find it very, very interesting. One question about the dimensionality. So I know you had a slide which described the genotypes for the brain and the body, but I just can't remember how big your search space was. So how many variables did you have? Okay, so that was like 7 or 8 variables to describe the complete robot. Is that correct?
So for the morphology, there is 8 variables, but for the controller, which controls the robot, there is a neural network, and this has about 2,700 weights.
And you are evolving all of them, right? Is that correct?
Yes, we're evolving all of them.
So you have quite a substantial search space with like about 4,000 variables to be optimized through evolution.
Yes.
Okay, that was it. Thank you. And another one, is maybe a tougher question, not that technical, is what of this and how could we use if we evolve real robots? I mean, robots that really work in the world.
Yes, so when you evolve robots in the real world, it is of course quite difficult to change the morphology of the robot, but robots that but for example, in the real world, robot leg could break, and then it could be good for the robot to be able to know how to control different morphologies. So perhaps it could be applied to something like that.
Okay, yes,
but also,
thank you.
Yeah, if you have a robot that has legs that are capable of extending or something like that, it could also be used to learn the correct length of the legs for the robot.
Yes, and I want to, Emma also mentioned it already in her chat that another Emma, I think it's Emma Hart, that there is some very interesting work where you could really collaborate with or, contribute to, which is investigating the properties of the environment or the complexity of the environment and the complexity of your evolved robots, whether it's about the brain or the body. Just a suggestion. But thanks again, very nice.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everyone. So, thank you very much, Emma.
Thank you.
Again, a virtual round of applause.